Hello everyone, welcome back to the next episode of our podcast, and today we have Paulmi with us. Hello Paulmi, how are you?
Hi, Dave. I'm very well. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, that's our privilege to be honest, and I'm glad that you're here. I remember I've seen you back then in different channels, in different Instagram pages, your interviews. I've seen you back then when I was much younger than what I am today. But yes, I'm glad that I'm talking to you today directly. So, Paulmi, first of all, the very first thing that I really want to know is what does your name sounds, or I mean, not sound, sorry. What does the name mean? What does your name mean?
So, my mother is an ardent fan of the Bengali culture and the Bengalis in general.
Uh huh.
And my name is a Bengali name, Polumi. It means season in
Oh, okay.
Bengali.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Which season? If there's a particular season or just
Just,
season?
just, no, no, just season. Yeah.
Oh, all right. And why is that peculiarity? Why is that interest, love towards Bengal culture to your mom?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's she started reading a lot about the culture, and she was very attracted to the whole Bengali food and
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
language and everything. So yeah,
Mm-hmm. Did that catch up on to you? Did that rub it on you?
yeah, absolutely. Like I love Bengali food, and the language. Basically, it's such a sweet language.
Right. So basically, whenever we are given a name, of course, we are all given our names. We did not get the option to choose. For some special ones who do actually change later on. But yes, once your name Paul me, did that does that reflect onto you? Because for me, Dev, my name Devashish, it reflects on me. I do believe that yes, I'm a blessing of God. I tend to believe the meaning of it. So how do you reflect the name onto you?
I have never given that a thought, but now that you're asking me, it suddenly has dawned on me that yeah, maybe I'm also very much like my name, changing and adapting to situations like how seasons are, and all the things that I've gone through. Now that I get back and think about it, that yeah, I have adapted to a lot of changed with time, and flowed with time basically, and just taken it all.
Right. Of course. Why not? So, Paul, me, I've seen your interviews. First of all, I've seen all the regular questions, and I always want to make sure that my podcast is something different, and it gives a different kind of experience altogether. And on that aspect, so what we started with podcast was to understand your life. You understand your experiences, your insights. That has been like the borderline of this foundation, basically, of this podcast. So my very first thing that I would really want to know is, now I can see you're bold, you're beautiful, and you have this amazing smile. I don't know if people have complimented you or not, but you really have this amazing
Thank
contagious smile. So now I know you. I've seen your stories. But how was Paul me back then, even before the incident happened, or 12 years, when you were 12 years old? So how were you as a kid back then?
Um, Firstly, I'm the only child of my parents. So, of course, I got all the love and attention, which I loved back then.
Was it
And
difficult?
my
Is it
childhood,
difficult to be a single child? Because I've heard
not at
complaints.
all. Not at all. No. I mean, of course, like everyone says that, oh, you should have a sibling while growing up, you have a company. But I think I was pretty much, I did well. I mean, I was really okay being the only child.
Yeah, we're talking about your childhood. Yes.
And my childhood was it was good, it was happy, it was I have a lot of memories, and uh, I had a lot of friends and cousins. So yeah, that was like the major part of my childhood, and like any other childhood was very happy and nice, and my parents tried their, like, put in all their efforts to give me all the things, and I was not a demanding child, but they tried to fulfill all the wishes as much as they could.
Right. So did you ever go to your parents and ask them that I want a younger sibling? Anytime did that happen to you? Did you just go and tell
No,
them?
no, no, no,
Okay,
no.
all right.
Never, never.
All right. So how was your school life? How were you as a kid when you were in school? Were you like silent, quiet, or were you this naughty girl, or making noises?
No, I was very silent. I don't think I have ever done any mischievous things. My school life was amazing. I had the best of the teachers and the classmates. And two of my best friends from school, I'm still in touch with them. Like they are still my best friends from nursery.
Wow.
So it was my school life was really very good. Like I'm very blessed and grateful to have a wonderful school and teachers.
Right, right. And I remember I've seen something, and I think the incident happened to you at the age of 12. And I think you were in sixth standard. You've completed six by
I had
then?
just passed sixth
Oh,
standard.
okay.
Yeah.
And you were at your relative's place, I think paternal uncle's place. So could you just tell me a brief
Paternal uncle.
about
Yeah.
what exactly happened, a little bit? I know that it's really
So
really tedious for you to always go on to interviews and tell the same thing again and again. But yes, we'll quickly wrap this part.
no worries. So, I'll give you a brief about my family first. So, I have been born and brought up and raised in Mumbai, and my entire paternal family is in Hyderabad. So, and I have a lot of cousins in Hyderabad. All my uncles and aunts and their kids, they all stay there. And so, for me, I'm still very close to all my cousins. So it was a ritual for me every year that once the summer vacation starts, I would go to Hyderabad, spend 1 or 2 months there, and then come back before the school starts. So I had just passed sixth standard, and the summer vacation was going on. It was in 2001, and same thing happened. My parents had sent me off to Hyderabad. I was by myself, and I was with my cousins there. And this incident happened on 4th June 2001. So
I was 2 years
I
old.
was, oh,
I was 2 years old.
I was, I was 12 years old then. And I was just, I think in a week or something, my tickets were booked for me to come back to Mumbai. And unfortunately, this happened just when my time was, come back. So it was an afternoon time, and my cousins and I, we were playing on the balcony. So it was a second floor house. The house was on the second floor, and the balcony. We were playing, and unfortunately, you see the live, high tension wires.
Right.
In Mumbai, if you see them, they are very heighted and they are on the highways basically.
Right.
But unfortunately, in Hyderabad, they go right across outside your home. And there were many wires that were going outside the balcony, and we were playing. And what we had done is we had taken this fishing, we had taken this rod, and we had attached a small utensil. You know those you play, the kids play with a small utensil set. So we had attached a small utensil at the end of the rod, and we were holding the rod and we were playing as if we are fishing. So the rod was in our hand, and we were sitting in the balcony. And we were playing fishing like a make believe fishing rod we had. And suddenly the rod slipped off my hand and it went on the wire. And I did not know, so I just went and I thought that it's a mere clothesline. I did not know it was a live wire. And then I went to catch hold of the rod, and accidentally I caught hold of the wire. And then we all got to know that actually it was an 11,000 voltage high tension live electric wire. And I was like, of course I was electrocuted. I held the wire with my right hand. So my right hand got stuck onto the wire. And I was electrocuted. The last thing I remember was that I was unconscious. But I could not leave my hand since it was stuck. But then the doctors told us that by God's grace, there were light showers, I think, on that day. It was slightly, on and off raining, and maybe because of the electricity fluctuation, it must have gone off for a microsecond. So I could just, I was thrown aback as soon as the current went off for a microsecond, and the last thing I remember that I was lying, and then it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and my uncle and aunt, they came running and they saw me in that state. They took me to the hospital, and there I was declared 80% of burns, my entire hand, and I had wounds all over my body. And my initial treatment then began, and the ironic part was my parents were not with me; they were back in Mumbai. And as soon as this incident happened, my uncle called my dad and asked them to come soon to Hyderabad, something major has happened. And my parents just refused to, acknowledge that. नहीं नहीं ठीक है, उसको याद आती होगी, इसके लिए शायद आप मेरे को हम लोग को बुला रहे हो, कोई बात नहीं, आप लोग हो तो हमको क्या टेंशन. They did not know the magnanimity of the accident.
It was not communicated
And
on the call.
no, they were just told that something major has happened, come, because they didn't want to scare them off immediately. So then anyway, my parents, my father rather understood that there is something wrong, otherwise, something major has happened. And they rushed to Hyderabad, and there I was, my surgery started, and then I was shifted to ICU. Exactly after a week of the incident, on 4th of June, the incident happened. On 11th of June, my right hand was not in a good state at all. And the doctors were called, more doctors were called for opinion as to what to do. And gangrene had started spreading.
Right.
So they took a lot of opinions, and finally there was only one thing they could do, that they had to amputate my hand. That was the only way to stop the gangrene from spreading. So on 11th June, this decision was taken, and my right hand was amputated. And I was in the hospital for almost 1.5, 2 months. Then I was shifted to the burns ward, and after that, I was then taken directly to Mumbai to a hospital. Then another set of surgery started. So on and off, I was in the hospital for almost 6 to 8 months. It was an absolutely tough time, and the age, I did not know what was happening. I kept asking what happened, and no one was telling me the entire story, and I was just in the hospital on the bed, and lot of pain. Yeah, so till date I've undergone more than 50 surgeries, and my right hand has been amputated. My left hand is still in a very semi-operable state, but so doctors, the entire focus shifted on saving my left hand. Now that right hand was amputated, whatever had to be done was done, and so my left hand is still, I do not have a strong grip. My fingers are still bent. I have scars, but yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to manage and live it off.
Yeah. Were your paternal uncle very much guilty of it? Because since this happened in their residence, I'm sure there's this extreme guilt that I'm sure even today it might haunt them to some extent. The
Yes,
incident that
of course,
happened.
of course.
So
It was not
it was not a pleasure one.
no, it was a very, very tough time, and my God. Yeah, and then my aunt could not even enter that home again, and they had to they just immediately close that home, and they shifted elsewhere. So yeah, it was a traumatic time for the entire family. It was and something which was not my fault. We were just playing, and out of playing, because of the infrastructure, so that's why I always say just stay safe, because it's generally not our fault when we are. We were kids back then. I didn't even know that it was a live wire. So.
Actually, your story is taken as an inspiration, which is, but other than the inspiration part, I also see the negligence or the negligence that still exists in India, particularly when it comes to wires like this, wire which are not properly plasticated. I don't know if that's a word, but there's certain wires that has to have a coating on it, or different kind of pipes that has to go through. And I really believe that this is also a wake-up call for people to actually understand how they should be careful when there are running wires, especially in India. And I think that is something that I really wanted to focus on, because more than 10,000 people in India every year gets electrocuted. This is what happens.
Till date.
Yeah, till date.
Yeah, electrocution cases are rising every single day. Single day and in my case, by God's grace, I'm so grateful and blessed. When I was rushed to the hospital, the doctor said that no one survives in this case. My condition was so bad. But by God's grace, it's a miracle that I am still alive. And that is what I thank God for that. At least I'm alive. No. And yeah, of course, it's a very tough journey. It's not been the same. I mean, I had to restart my life all over again. I was bedridden for 8 to 10 months. It took me a lot of time and efforts to again get back on feet and start even walking. And and I had to restart like a baby, start taking all the small steps. And I had to learn how to hold the spoon, how to eat, how to wear clothes, how to have a bath. I was dependent on my mother for the longest time. And I could not do the smallest of the things. I still can't. Like, I cannot tie my own hair. I cannot button a shirt. So there are the tiny things I still cannot do. But I was focused on one thing. As a child, uh, I've always been very independent. I want to do things on my own. So my mom always used to tell me, when I was young, if she would help me in doing something, I would get very angry. That no, you don't do. I will do it. So I think that is why I think I learned how to get back to my normal life quickly. I think that really helped me. And I was very determined to just get independent, because I was dependent for so much time, that I was not probably okay with it. I'm like, नहीं, कितनी बार मैं एक एक चीज के लिए कितने लोगों को बुलाऊं? Yeah, I have to wait. If my mom comes, then only I can have a bath and I can wear my clothes. And even for, like, if I'm watching TV, I have to wait someone to change the channel also. Like the smallest of the things. Then I started. I was like, no, how I really want to be independent and start doing things on my own. So I used to then come up with hacks, small hacks. I was thinking, how do I change the remote? My hands were completely bandaged and I could not even hold the remote. So I started doing that with my feet. With my toes, I would change the TV the remote buttons. I could not close the button, so I would wear elastic skirts, which is just very easy to slip on. I started doing that. So yeah, I came up with these small. If there was something lying on the floor, I wanted to pick it up, I would use my toes to pick up the stuff. So yeah, I came up with small hacks which really helped me. And yeah, that's been the journey from there. And then college. Now I'm working.
No, I'm really sure. I think when times like this, I think your parents and your immediate family, they really support a lot, and not support a lot. That's not obvious for everyone. Everyone's case is different, but I think the support actually helps. I also remember I also had a accident. I fell from a 2-floor building, and I was almost bedridden for 3 months. Yeah, and I can relate to your
Oh
pain as well,
God.
and being there in the hospital for like 3 months and you're not sure what's happening. And back then I had a time where I would ask my mom, would I be able to walk. That was
Yeah.
for me, and
Yeah.
I can completely believe that aspect. And then my mom used to say, what, nothing has happened, you will, and you will also go back to your school, and you'll write your exams and you'll top the class, because back then I was like a studious kid. So yeah, I did that. That was the push I think parents give, and it's really important. But in other cases, sometimes the support lacks. Most of the cases, the other
Yes. Yeah.
people, unfortunately, they do not get that support. They see people, if there's a victim, they somehow the family thinks that it's a burden. I've seen family. I come from Odisha. I've seen some families where polio is really in increase. Polio is something. Back then it was really an increase, and even now there are people who are suffering from polio. And I've seen families treating them like a burden. They would just keep
Yeah.
them aside and let them do whatever they want. Even when they would want to eat something, they would just feed it as if they're feeding an animal. And it really breaks my heart. And I believe maybe small things like this, people like you coming forward talking about it, and showing the world how ideal situation would be, because I would like to quote it as an ideal situation. I mean, all the families should be doing this, what your
Yes.
parents have done, and
Absolutely.
your
No,
family.
I'm only here, and what I am today is only because of my parents and, of course, the extended family support. It was such a tough time even for my parents when they came to Hyderabad and they saw me in that state. They were, of course, I mean, any parent, you do not want to see your child in such a bad state. And they have been so strong, and they have made me strong, that it's absolutely okay. And for me, their support, and they never made me feel like something has happened. So even in the hospital, and then once I was back home, I remember they would ask me to do things. Go take this, go get this. And like, क्या होएगा? एक बार नहीं होगा, दूसरी बार नहीं होगा. Try करो, try and try till you succeed. And the transition from something, so big that has happened, to being so normal in the house. You know, I think that made me feel that, oh, actually, कुछ नहीं हुआ है, हुआ था, let's forget, let's take it as a bad dream and move on. And I think that really, really helped me in overcoming the situation.
And of course, all these things also come from all these things also have a negative end, right? A negative side. I mean, we are talking about the positives, but there's also negative end to it, negative side of it. So what are the negative side of you losing your arm and lots of things happening? What were the negative
There
sides?
are many, of course. I mean, we are talking about losing a limb, so of course it is not an easy life. I am still struggling. It's been 22 years now, and it has been a very, very tough journey for everyone around. Even you call it financially, mentally, physically. It took a toll on the entire family. It was not easy at all. But I think my parents' attitude towards this entire thing, and in general also, so I remember once in school, I resumed school. I think after 10 months, like hardly like few months were left in the end, and I had resumed because my principal they were informed that something like this happened, and they were so warm about, and they were so supportive. They said, of course, I mean, we'll take care of our academics. You just take care of Polmy because that is the most, that will be the topmost priority. And once I resumed school, it was such a lovely feeling. The entire class was clapping for me, and my teachers came and hugged me, and no one ever made me feel, oh, there's something wrong. They were so supportive. They would help me with the books. They would help me with the bag. They would help me with the notes. I could not write, so everyone would, pass on the notes.
Yeah, I remember it happened to me. It happened to me. I remember that feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was really not expecting. Of course, I wanted to go back all the time in the hospital. I was thinking, yeah, when will I start school? मेरे को मेरे दोस्तों किससे मिलना है, और what am I doing in the hospital? So that was my only, the sad point of the entire thing, that I wanted to join school and not be in the hospital. So after that, I then started writing. I practiced a lot with my prosthetic hand. I started writing. I gave my exams. And ऐसे करके 8th, 9th, 10th standard I cleared. And so you school was like a family. They all knew me since nursery, and then something like this happened. So it was very easier for me to blend in. The major struggle was college. When I started college after 10th, and whole new set of people, whole new teachers, full new group, and they made me, they were like, what is wrong with her? What is wrong with her hand? I was wearing a prosthetic hand then. And they would comment on my scars, they would comment on my hand. And of course, I mean, no one knew, right? And the awareness is also not there in India, sadly. So that was the time I'm like, okay, I'm not ready for this, because this never happened to me in school. They were all so warm. And here suddenly I'm taking all of these stairs, and I was not prepared for it. And I remember once I went home crying, and I told my mom and dad, I'm like, listen, I cannot do this. Nahi hoga mere se. I don't have the energy to face everyone and ask their questions. And I was very embarrassed of my hand and scars and everything. So it happened for a few days. I was like, I just wanted to shut off from the world, and I think I just wanted to sit in my room and not face anyone. I was so scared. And that's when my father and my mother, they told me that, okay, if you want to do this your entire life, sit at home, it's okay, we'll take care of you, not a worry. But that is very easy. Or do you want to actually get out and face the world and face the challenges and be very okay about it, because it was not your fault? And so what if you don't have a hand? Try from the other hand. And so what? Just face the world. If there's anyone who's asking you, tell them that this has happened. Why get scared or embarrassed? So they gave me two choices. It's very easy. घर पे बैठ जाओ, कोई बात नहीं, या फिर जाओ और लड़ो. So I'm like, okay. And then I again started, and I again faced, and of course, it was not easy. But I used to be embarrassed and shy of my, my physical self for the longest time. I would wear these full sleeve clothes. I would never wear shorts or skirts, so that my scar, like, लोग क्या बोलेंगे मेरे scars को देख के. मेरा hand also, I used to like walk like this and cover myself, and I was so embarrassed. Oh God, when I go think back of those days. But yeah, then slowly I realized that what is the point? This is me. I have to be comfortable in my own skin. So what if this has happened? Then after so many years and years of struggle, today I'm fearless. I do not care. I do not, if someone stares at me, I also stare back. I'm like, क्या हुआ? And then they ask me क्या हुआ? Then I tell them, "हाँ, ये था, ये हुआ था मेरे साथ." And I'm now I'm okay with it. Absolutely. So that is my only thing to tell everyone, that just face it. The more you face it, the more strength you will have, and you will be amazed at how courageous you can be at certain situations.
That's really wonderful, and I understand how difficult it could have been. Now you're talking, but now I can actually envision. I can actually be there in the corner and see you walking down the lanes and wearing different hacks and trying out different hacks to actually not show. But yes, I completely understand that aspect, and to be honest, this is really important for everyone to listen also, because I know someone, a good friend, and she
Okay.
had a small gas cylinder accident. It bursted at her
Oh.
home, and it happened. It usually happened back then. Many cases, and something like that happened. She lost her mother because of this, and
Oh.
now she's half burnt. So her face, it's half burnt. And last time I was talking to her, she asked me, Dev, do you think someone would marry me? That was the question that she asked, and I was really, first of all, I was shocked to hear that question, because I never saw her differently, because I've known her for
Yes.
some years. But then there are people who would see her for the first time, right? and
Yeah.
and there would be different questions. What have happened? Is it an acid survivor victim, or something else? All of
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
different questions. And she's really uncomfortable, and she has also chosen the path of surgeries, which is up to her, of course, her decision. She wants to make it more clearer or better, at least. And this was the question that she asked, and for that question I actually wanted to talk to you, because you are now married. You're
Yeah.
blessed with a baby girl, baby boy, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Baby girl,
A
right?
daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, a daughter.
Yes.
So I really want to put this whole perspective in a place where people like her can also understand and not lose hope at love, because love again is something that's really important in life, to be honest. So how did this happen to you? How naturally it came to you? And how do you think that people like us, who have gone through certain trauma, can also have a normal life, a normal husband, a wife, all of that?
Firstly, I think I would say here that the more confident and courageous you are, I think it becomes, you have a very strong say, and that confidence will radiate from within. So no one, it's very easy for situations in like these where people can bully you and people can overpower you. But I think firstly, that's why I always say, just acknowledge and accept. I have accepted that this is it, this is my life, that's how it's going to be, and becomes very easier. And then you need to stand up for your own self, because I think that is what is very, very important, and people lack that. And then it becomes very easier for others to overpower you, which again I feel it's a very vulnerable situation, which I think that should not be the case. um Coming back to my personal life, yes, I met Sandeep when we were in college, and we started off as the best of friends, and then slowly, that friendship turned into love. We were then, after a few years, we realized, okay, this is something now. It's brewing into love rather than only friendship, and there was no proposal or anything, but we were just together all the times, and yeah, he's also given me a lot of strength back then. When it was a new crowd, as I told you, college was completely different. um, he was a very, like, the calm, my calm in the storm kind of a thing. And yeah, we met each other in 2005, and we got married in 2014, and 5 years later we now have a beautiful and amazing baby daughter.
Of course, I've heard the gist of the story in other interviews as well, but my question would be something different. So my question would be more on terms of, how did you find love to be? What was love for you back then, and then after meeting the person, how did it get defined or refined even much more in a more clearer manner? So how did that happen? And again, I really don't understand the whole concept of no proposal relationships or no proposal marriage. I really don't get it. I mean, how do you actually fall into love, you get married without any proposal? That's something I think
No,
last time
I
was.
mean, there was no proposal in the sense कि ऐसा कुछ था नहीं कि हम लोग there was a tag of a relationship. We were just like so close, and it was a beautiful friendship that turned into love. So there was not one moment where I can think of and say कि अच्छा यहाँ से हमारा relation शुरू हुआ.
अच्छा.
There was ऐसा कुछ था नहीं. It was like, it was so comfortable, and it was uh, the best part was that I could be me with him. I never had to cover myself or get shy or embarrassed, and he would also support me in ways like I don't get embarrassed in front of others. Like, for example, I remember कॉलेज बंक करके तो हर कोई जाता है मूवी देखने, रेस्टोरेंट एंड ऑल. सो वी आल्सो यूज्ड टू डू दैट. वी वर अ ह्यूज ग्रुप ऑफ फ्रेंड्स, and whenever we used to go out to have food, a small example I'm giving you, and if we order some rotis or sabzi or something, and I could not make bites of the roti, I could not tear it. So he would see, he would be probably sitting somewhere else, and he would see from one corner, okay, she needs, and I would get very shy to ask someone for help back then, and he would just come, tear the roti, and just go back to his seat. So I didn't have to say anything. He didn't like make a hoopla about the whole thing in front of everyone, just very silently. Same with if I was struggling with my bag, I could not open the zip. He would come, just open the zip, and he would go. So many times it happened. So it made me feel okay. It was so comfortable and made me feel so good that I don't have to say it aloud, So yeah, I mean, the best part was that I was very comfortable and the way I was. So that really, I think, encouraged me, maybe to again face the challenges. And the best part was the friendship. I always say that, hit it off as friends, be the best of friends. So, yeah. No, it's true. I mean, it's a very cliched Bollywood term, but it is true. It is true. The more friends you are, the relationship.
No, I completely believe in this. It's completely about friendship. Right. So how did this happen? So how did the marriage thing happen? Did you talk to your parents, or did he come and talk? So how was it?
So the best part was that we were friends in such a long time. तो एक दूसरे के घर पे आना जाना था ही. So his parents knew me since a very long time. My parents knew him, and we had a huge group of friends. So they all knew कि अच्छा, everyone was so nice and warm. I remember. So then lately, few years के बाद, friends नहीं, पर हम दोनों अकेले बहुत मिलते थे और एक दूसरे के घर पे जाते थे. So then everyone was like, why is he only coming? What about the other friends? So everyone got an inkling, everyone had हाँ कुछ तो है, मतलब कुछ तो चल रहा है, but no one asked us. Like, चलो ठीक है, चल रहा है. After college, I did my MBA. I did my MBA in family business and entrepreneurship, and that's when we were discussing, how to take this forward. We knew that okay, someday we will get married, but we never actually officially spoke about it. And like, ठीक है, चल रहा है. He was also working. I was doing my MBA, and that's when my mother came out. Of course, I'm the girl, and how, and I come from a Gujarati family, so it's always very worrisome for the parents कि नहीं अभी शादी. So then they took up this topic. And I'm like, नहीं ऐसा कुछ नहीं बोलो, कोई है क्या? Are you dating someone? I'm like, नहीं कोई नहीं है. And I of course just very smart. I thought that I'll come out of it, but of course I was wrong. Of course they're my parents and they knew what is happening. So they did not leave the topic for months and months and months. Then I spoke to Sandeep, like ऐसे है, they are pressurizing, not pressurizing, but they are continuously asking me to marry. So क्या करे? And so when he knew that अच्छा इतना घर वाले भी अभी पूछ रहे हैं, so then that is when in 2012 he proposed. So for marriage, and then I said yes, and then I घर पे बताया. He spoke at his place, I spoke at my place, and since they knew us, it was very easy. And फिर बस 2014 में शादी हो गई.
Wow. No, I understand. Oh my God, it's really nice. All of the things that you want, and there was a certain friendship, and now you're married, and it's really nice. So how's marriage life for you? Honestly, just think that he's not watching us or he's not listening to us. Just tell me, be honest. How's marriage life for you?
Marriage has been, of course, very good. First few years were like how excitement mein you want to stay, start living with your friend. It was like that for me, I got to stay with my best friend, and yeah, we would take trips. We are both very adventurous, so we took a lot of trips, and it's still very good, touch wood.
Yeah, touch wood. Right. And then the daughter happened, and now you're a mother. So from being a daughter to a mother now, so how is that, for you? How is the motherhood for you? And of course,
Oh,
I'm sure you would have your own set of challenges as well. So how is
yeah.
motherhood for you?
Lovely, lovely. I'm very, very blessed, and I'm so grateful to have a daughter like Meher. Her name is Meher. She has been, I think she is like the perfect, a kind, gentle, uh, very warm-hearted young kid I've seen. And of course, my challenge is, she's been so empathetic towards me also. Now she started asking questions like, Mama, what has happened to your hand? And she knows that I can't do certain things. She's so small. She's 3 years old, and she'll come and help me. Okay, no, Mama, wait, I will help you. I will do this for
Wow.
you. I will do that for you. And the kindness I see in her, my God, so I'm so mind blown whenever I see her do stuff for me. And motherhood, of course, has been tough for me. Tough in the sense, there's certain things I still, when she was young, I could not even change her diaper. I needed help, like small things. I could not make her wear clothes, so I needed help for all of those things. But yeah, somehow we've managed, and we've come this far. And by God's grace, I just pray that she has a very, very, very happy and healthy life ahead. And I hope that this kindness in her always prevails.
Yeah. I'm sure one day when I become an uncle, I'll definitely talk to her as well. Yeah. So
Yes.
what was the story behind Meher? Why did you name her Meher? Any peculiar story? And of course, the meaning of Meher. I have a very, different concept towards names. I have this general curiosity to understand who named you, what's the meaning of your name, and what's the story behind it. So yeah, so what was the whole concept
Yeah,
behind
yeah.
Meher?
Well, for me, actually, being the only child and the daughter of my parents, and then when I was expecting, it was a very, very, such a happy moment for us. And my sister-in-law, actually, we both, discussed about this name, and we both were like, this is a blessing for us. And this child that's going to come, he or she is going to spread so much of happiness around. My in-laws were so happy, my parents were so happy. So my sister-in-law was like, no, let's name something like a blessing, since it's a blessing. So that's why we named Meher. It's a blessing from God for us.
Yeah, okay, all right. Wow. This is so nice to hear all these stories for different names. I really love that aspect. And I really love when you actually have a meaning to it also attached. I've heard people and they still do
Yeah.
not know their names, and, they're like, I mean, the meaning of their
Meaning,
names.
yeah.
Yeah, the meaning of their names. I'm like,
Yeah, I know, I
what? You
know.
really don't know the meaning of your name? It's very bad. Okay. But yes, that's it. So yeah, so this has been your life so far. So let's talk about your entrepreneur journey as well, because you are an entrepreneur, you are taking care of your family business, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So again, one first thing is you have done your MBA, so I understand that you might have the knack, but what were your general challenges, because taking over your family business, it's again, it's a business, a real business where there's revenue generated, there's profit earned, and lots of things happening, sometimes losses as well. So how did your mindset come into business, and what was the initial challenges that you had?
This business is actually started by my father. It's been more than 35, 40 years. Um, so we are into manufacturing and fabrication of heavy machineries, which are used in steel plants, power plants, etc. So, being the only child, my father was very sure, focused that I should get into business and, probably take it forward. So that was the plan from the beginning. So that's why after my college, I immediately did my MBA in family business. That is, and I did that for 2 years, and then I joined the business. So because it's a manufacturing unit, the major challenge was it's totally male oriented, and I'm the only woman in the business. So that is of course very challenging, and plus the whole technical background I do not have. So I take
Yeah.
care of the administration part, the finance, the running of the business development, basically. So yeah, the challenge I still have is that I do not have a technical background to run a manufacturing unit, but it's good. It's good up till now, and I get to learn a lot of things. It's such a challenging industry, this entire industry. So there are learnings every day, and plus it being a family business, when it's your own business, you have to put in extra, uh, you know, time and mind behind it. So yeah, then you have to take care of all the branches of the business.
Did your father give you master classes on the business part? Yeah, I'm sure that phase must have come, where he is giving you master classes, इसको ऐसे करना है, and these other clients and all of that. So did that happen
Yeah,
to
yeah,
you?
of course. That is a everyday thing. We sit and discuss a lot of things. I still learn a lot of things from him. There's nothing. I don't think I'll be able to match his mindset ever, because he's a visionary and he's so determined and focused. So I have a lot of things to learn. I still learn every day. For me, it's a new day, and I learn a lot of things.
You have come from a Gujarati family. So even when you mentioned back then, I somehow wanted to ask this question, but I forgot. But now again, I'm reminded. So since you're a Gujarati family, and I'll be very honest, you're the first Gujarati on the show. Right, I mean, I never had a
Oh,
Gujarati. I've had Marathi, I've had Bengalis. You're the
acha.
first. So yeah. So I've always asked this question. How's Gujarat? Not the house Gujarat, but how is the whole household like in a Gujarat family? I've seen Bollywood movies. I've seen movies, of course, where I've seen Gujarati. The The plays, and I'm sorry if I'm naming it wrong. Yeah, Thepla, sorry.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
all of that. But apart
Thepla,
from
fafda, undi will
yeah,
come anytime you will get it.
yeah. So what apart from that makes a Gujarati household? So how's a Gujarati household feel like?
Firstly, I am proud that I'm so happy that I've been born in a Gujarati family
Uh-huh.
because of the whole large-heartedness of everyone. It's a major event. The smallest of the events are also turned into a major शादी वाला feel.
Celebration.
You
Yeah.
know, हाँ, हर एक celebration इतना heavily करते हैं हम लोग. तो and the unity, maybe, the whole family gets together, and the support that each other give. Even back when I met with the accident, the support of my entire family was so much. It's all one. That oneness, really helps, and that I've generally seen in Gujarati families happen a lot. And yeah, I mean, it's I would always want to be born again and again in a Gujarati family for sure.
Right. One thing that I've heard about Gujarati families is that they're very business oriented, right? That is one thing that
Very,
that
very.
yeah
Yeah,
that
you meet my father, you will get to know.
acha. So is it getting diluted now for the current generation, for the younger generation, or would it be the same? How are you seeing this generation, the current generation, Gujarati generation, be like?
No, I think in current generation, and overall, everyone, I have seen, even Meher to बहुत ही
Yeah.
दूसरा generation हो गया, but yeah, but now when you see, everyone is like so focused, and the things they are doing, the intelligence level is so high right now, and it's amazing. Back then we did not have the technology or anything. Right now, the proper use of technology, and everyone's doing something. This number of startups that are coming up, I mean, it's mind-boggling, the things people are doing.
Other day I was talking to a Gurudev. His name is Gurudev Shankara Tilak Nanda. I've spoken to him, and he told me that he's very much looking forward to this young generation, and he also believes that there are lots of problems that this generation will solve. Lots of problems that have
Yeah.
ancestor has faced, our current generation is been facing, and for the upcoming ones, I think this generation would actually solve lots of problems. But as we know that with new generations coming in, there are new problems also that comes.
Yeah,
Right. I mean, with every
see,
generation, it comes, and
with every generation. Yeah.
yeah. But yes, there's lots of optimistic perspective towards the younger generation. My generation, of course, I'm also young. So yeah, I look forward to clear many questions, and make sure that this world becomes a happier place than what it is now. But with people like you, I'm sure the ones who are not happy, the ones who are complaining, the ones who have something or the other in their life, I'm sure they would definitely get inspired. And when I say inspired, I'm talking about real inspiration, not for the podcast sake, not for the interview sake or anything like that, because I really believe people like Anusha, people like my friend, I have to edit it, yeah, so people like her, they should listen to this. There are lots of things that they'll have to learn, and I believe that life is really beautiful and it's very small. You got to enjoy it while you can. So that has been one mantra for me,
Absolutely.
and I think that is what I'm trying to do. But yes, since I've called you as our guest, and you are our guest, of course, with all due respects, what we do is when we call our guests, we ask their perspective on life. That's like the biggest question that we have. That's like the foundation one for our podcast. So how do you see life as, and if you can describe life and make it very much simple for our listeners, for everyone else who's complicating it or overdoing it, how do you see life is, so that they can also understand what do you think life is all about?
For me, you have one life, and so when I met with the accident, as I told you, it would have been easier for me to sit at home and not do anything about it, and not face the world. Um, but as I told you, my father was like, "You have two choices," and I chose this, and this is what I feel life is. It is a struggle, of course. There are major struggles. In fact, I would say that what I am probably my struggles are probably very less compared to someone else's. Um, uh, this I realized when once I was after my surgery, I was shifted to the pediatric ward back then. I remember it after one of the surgeries, and because I think there were for a brief period, for a day or two, I think I was shifting in the pediatric ward, and when I saw the other kids there and the problems they had, it was it was I was really taken aback. I'm like, why am I crying over my issues? When you see out, there are probably more grave issues than this. And at that moment, I felt, I'm like, no, I should be thankful that at least I'm alive. At least I have the resources. So my that is what I've always been. Just be very grateful that you have this life, and make the most of it, because of course for me I'm also struggling, but I'm also happy to face the struggles and face the challenges. So, and yeah, that's what I always tell everyone, that just accept the situation, and just do not ever make you feel
Low.
little. Yeah, you're way above your challenges.
Small.
You're way, and the minute you start accepting it and you face it with confidence, you'll be so amazed that, oh, you had that courage all the while, but it was not unleashed. You need to unleash that courage. Everyone is, I would say, everyone is strong. Everyone has that courageous side, but when this happened, even I was a very timid child, very timid, and now this incident has made me a completely different person, and I don't think I would have been so uh, I would not call fearless, but so strong if this incident didn't happen to me. I think I would always be that timid and vulnerable. But so I'm thankful for this also, that okay, I'm grateful that I went through these challenges, because they really made me learn a lot of things that otherwise I would not have learned. So yeah, just face the world, be strong. You will be amazed at your own courage that you always had in you.
I
And
call this
I
is, yeah,
keep
yeah.
working hard. Keep working hard, and I think that anything you work hard for never ever goes waste.
This is what I call as leveling up. I believe that when a certain difficult situation comes onto your life, and you somehow manage, struggle, bite, pray, cry, and do something out of it,
Yeah.
and you actually survive that, I believe that this is where you have leveled up. And for you, I'm sure you are at like some other level altogether. But thanks for empowering people as well. I've seen your Instagram, the way you are candid about the problems that you have, the problems that you face, and the way you have come out of it. I really believe that more than preaching, it's more about your determination that showcases on Instagram and all other social medias if you're available. I've seen your Twitter where you have complained to Mahindra also, to I've seen some of your tweets also. Yeah. But yes, I truly believe that this has to be there, and I see that there are certain people who say कि अरे यार बिचारी को ऐसा हो गया, बिचारी को वैसा हो गया, and there's sometimes pity on it, but I guess the other end where you can actually see it as a learning curve, there's tremendous things that someone can learn from you, and I'm saying with all honesty and genuinity that this would definitely help people out there, and I've also been talking. I think the assistant were talking to you about the podcast and about all of this, when to schedule and all of that. And I've been hearing that you were attending different events. You were going to different shows. I don't know if it's shows or not, but yeah, you were busy. So I wanted to understand, what do you do? Other than the entrepreneur part, entrepreneurship part, your office, your company. What else do you do?
I'm also a motivational speaker. I attend these events, online, offline, both, and just share my journey. Not that I am any like a superhuman or something. No, I'm just a normal human being trying to lead a normal life every day. But it's just that with my story, if that can be an inspiration to others, then that is the only thing I'm doing. And I want to, there's no awareness right now. So the basic infrastructure also in the country is lacking, and people do not know that something like a prosthetic hand exists, or artificial limbs exist, and there's so many amputees and people with different disabilities. So I just want to spread the awareness that it's okay to be in the space. There's nothing wrong with you, and there's nothing to shy away or not lead a normal life. And I think there should be people to come forward and make this a more inclusive place. And there are so many people who are not coming out of their mental space or these challenges, thinking that how will the world accept us. But this is the only motto for me, that now I have come to a point wherein I've learned to do things with 1.5 hands. And I always say that if I can do it with 1.5 hands, then what excuse do you have? And this is the thing that I want to spread to everyone. So this is my bit to help making this world more inclusive. And we have more and more people come forward, and we have a certain kindness towards them, because everyone is leading their own battles, everyone is fighting at their own level. But let's make it very easier for
others,
each other.
Right. And the last question that should definitely follow is, who takes care of your camera? I've seen your videos on Instagram, and it's well shot. So who's your buddy? Who's your camera buddy?
I have few people who help me out in this.
I've seen your comment sections also. People are really sweet, and as you have mentioned in one reel, you have mentioned that there's World War III going on in my comment sections as well, and I've seen it's really very nice. Two people getting engaged, and they're fighting in themselves, like, oh ye to ye bol diya, to ye bol diya. So how do you see?
I can see there are certain black areas, there are certain white areas. I'm just doing my bit and spreading probably sometimes laughs, sometimes some information, as much as I can through my Instagram page. But yeah, my comment section is like so good. I have had such lovely comments and wishes from everyone, and it's really lovely to get all the love and the affection and such good wishes for me. So I love scrolling through the comments and getting all the blessings.
Yeah, I've actually done that, and I really liked also different comments, people loving you from all over the place, and taking you as inspiration. But yes, so that said, my final question would be, what's your ultimate goal? What do you want to do from here on? What's for you in line for you after this?
Well, I want to scale up the business as much as I can. My father had started this, so he has a vision, and I want to put in all efforts to take it to the greatest height as much as I can. And that is my career side. And on this side, I would want to spread more and more awareness, and probably as much as people as I can touch their lives. And I've had such lovely comments from people that there was this one comment I remember, that a person was searching for a job, and he was not getting a job. And he messaged me that, Paulmi ma'am, thank you so much that after looking at your life, I am now going to go back and hunt for a job, work towards it, and probably make a better career out of my life. And I was so touched that, okay, if even if I can touch one person's life, I think it's good. So yeah, probably do more and more events, and yeah, grow my Instagram page.
Yeah, yeah.
But
All right.
all positive, all love. There are no other feelings.
All right. Well, thanks, Palmi. I think we have had amazing conversation, and I hope you loved this conversation. It was different than the other ones. I've seen the other ones. It was all the same. So I thought of making. But yes, thanks again. Thanks for being on our show. I really enjoyed talking to you. Uh, yeah, Palmi, can you hear me? Hello. श्रेया, ये पॉलमी जी शी लेफ्ट द मीटिंग. इंटरनेट का थोड़ा इश्यू था शायद. शी माइट ट्राई टू जॉइन बैक. एक बार कॉल कर लो ना. हो गया ऑलमोस्ट. एक 5 मिनट्स है बस. लास्ट 5 मिनट्स. या. हाँ श्रेया, ये लास्ट 5 मिनट्स है. तो एक बार बुला लीजिए. बस एंडिंग है. इनसे गेम नहीं खेलूँगा मैं. या खेल लूँ, पता नहीं, देखते हैं. आप बस बुला लीजिए.
हाँ, वो जॉइन कर रही हूँ.
ओके.
I was brilliant off.
Yeah, Paul, me. I think we can't. Now I think it's. Yeah, I think there's a fluctuation in the internet. So we'll
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
wait for 2 minutes, and once it gets sorted, we'll just.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 second. Give me a moment. Shreya, how are we? Are we clear enough now?
Yeah, you are clear, but from Polmy, then there is some.
Yeah, it's okay. I think we'll just wait for a minute. Paul, me just a minute. I'm sure it would. Yeah, I think it would suit.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's just that it's very blurry as of now. We just wait for a minute, and I'll let you know once
Oh.
it's clear. No, I mean not the camera, the internet. I mean it's blurry because of the internet. Yeah. All right. I think now it's good, Shreya.
Yeah, now
Yeah.
it's good.
All right. Thank you, Shreya. Thanks for helping us, Shreya. Bye. Yeah, Paul. So we were at the end part. Where
Yes, yeah.
so I just redo it. So again, thanks, Paul. Thanks for being with us, and it was really great talking to you. I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope people also listen to this. Many have, but I want more to also listen.
Yeah.
And how was your experience talking to me?
Lovely. Thank you so much, Dave. Really, it's been so good. We've been trying to connect since a very long time, but I'm so glad finally I could get to speak to you and share my entire life story. It's been lovely, and I hope that through your podcast we can reach many, many lives. I just hope.
Right. And before we leave, there's a small game that would like to play.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So I don't know how would I call it. It's a rapid fire game. It's also a different type of game. We just ask random questions and see your opinions on it, basically. All right.
Okay.
All right. So shall we start?
Yes.
All right. So the first question: if you were stranded on a deserted island and could only bring 3 items, what would they be?
Oh, my phone,
Okay.
for sure. Uh, my lip balm. I always carry that with me, and my phone's charger probably.
Well, what would you do on a deserted island taking a charger?
A
Phone.
book. Sorry, a book. Because the
Okay.
phone is going to die soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a book. I love reading.
All right. The next question: what's the most weirdest or unusual food you have ever tried?
Weirdest. Oh my God, I can't. Not weirdest, but I can't probably think right now.
Okay. All right. No issues. The other question: we have many. It's okay. We have many. So,
Okay.
if you could instantly become an expert in any field or skill, what would you choose?
Um, right now, because of I have to run my business, so I just immediately want the whole technical knowledge.
Right.
So it becomes easier for me. Yeah.
Right. If you could swap your lives with a celebrity, who would that be?
Wow, a celebrity. I'm an ardent fan of Shah Rukh Khan. So
You shouldn't have
sorry.
told this. You shouldn't have told this. I love Shah Rukh Khan. I'm like the biggest
Yeah.
fan of SRK.
I mean, no one can match the grandeur of his life, but
Yeah.
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 I would probably not swap life with him, but I would probably swap life
With
with
his daughter.
someone else who's the closest to him, so I get to.
Right. I'll tell you this off air. I'll have to edit this as well. But for the longest of times, I wanted to date Suhana just to be with SRK. I was like, I'll marry Suhana so that I'll get him as my father-in-law or something. Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. All right.
he's a-
Yeah. So the next question: one word that can describe you.
Um, one word. I think I would probably say unfinished. I still have a lot to explore and learn, and yeah, I'm not finished yet.
All right.
Lot left.
Right. So, if you could go back and if you could travel back in time to any historical event, which one would you choose to witness or go to?
Historical event.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'll have to think.
Yeah.
I'll come back to this.
Okay. All right. If you become invisible for a day, what would you do?
I would probably go inside Mannan and see how Shahrukh is living his life. Please edit this, yaar. Don't put this. I'll.
Yeah, we'll see. We consider your request. Right. And the other question: if you could be a superhero or a heroine, who would you be? Or a fictional character? Any character, not a super. Anything. Who would you want to be?
I don't watch a lot of Marvel and superhero movies, but Batman. Love the character.
The vigilante. We'll have our Indian vigilante. All right. The next question. Do you have a favorite childhood memory that always makes you smile?
Yeah, so many. This particular one I remember that I had a lot of friends below my in my building where I used to stay earlier, and I had self-proclaimed myself as a leader, that I am the leader of all of you. And I remember there's one time where I got all of these 8 to 10 friends of mine, and I was being this bossy leader, and I told them that go and get a pen and a paper from your home and write down my birth date, 21st March, and you'll all have to bring chocolates and gifts. And I was instructing everyone, and that every time I think about it, I'm like, oh my god, what did I do? And I made them memorize that 21st March is my birthday, and what all you'll have to make a list of what y'all are going to give me. So silly memory.
Now
yeah.
we also
Always makes me laugh.
made a note now, so your gifts are in place. You definitely receive them from us as well.
Yay!
Alright.
Thank you.
All right. So the last question: if a biopic is ever made on you, who would you want to portray you? Any actresses, current, old, any actress that you would like to play you?
Biopic on me. Indian actresses love Priyanka Chopra and or Deepika Padukone.
Well, thanks, Paulmi. That was the end of our questions, and it was great talking to you. I think we had a question that you told that you'd tell it at the end. What was the question? I forgot. But anyways, yeah, the historical
Weirdest
event.
food, I can't think of.
No, not the weirdest food. The historical event. One historical event that you would go back. And
Yeah, historical event also I can't. फिलहाल तो मतलब कुछ भी नहीं आ रहा है दिमाग में, I'm blank.
चलो कोई बात नहीं. Well, thanks, Paulmi. Thanks for your time. It was wonderful talking to you, and I
Thank
hope
you.
people get
Thank you
inspired
so
from your
much.
story as much as can.
Fingers crossed.
All right. Take care, Paulmi. Take care. Bye.